Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blue Sock. We're going John, Dave, and myself. We're going to look back over Leinster's victory against Leon at the weekend, all the other European Cup action, and of course look forward to our game against Glasgow and all the other Pro 14 games this weekend coming. So John, you're over in Leon. Good crack, good trip.
It was good, usual, good banter. I had a good weekend, but more to the point on the pitch. Leinster did the business for us. Tough game, very tough game actually. Leinster let a lot go. You could, if you're going to be critical, they I know it was a bit wet, but they did let a lot of chances go. But on the plus side, they really dogged it out, beat the league leaders of France at home, and I wouldn't say they never looked in doubt because it was getting a bit.
Well, there was a moment there just before
squiffy,
just before half time when we had to really dig very deep to hold them out.
Offensive, yeah.
Lamar went off with the yellow card, I thought that was a defining moment of the match, that they were able to repel them from the line for those 5 minutes before half time.
Yeah, our defence was what one of. I mean, to a certain extent, it was easier than the score would reflect because we never took any of our chances or took very few of our chances, and any chances that they got, they weren't able to take. They were able to take the one. What we were able to, our defensive line was just superb. It really was, and the magical rotating penalty at maul time helped. Because the ref was never quite sure, because we were clever enough at what we did. The ref was never sure that we were actually doing anything. So we got away with a lot more than maybe we would have with another ref, because we kept giving away different penalties from different guys. It was quite clever.
Yeah, but I thought there was a mixed bag of performances. There was some, even say James Ryan, whose stats were absolutely off the roof or off the charts. I think what did I have written down here? He carried 8 times for 79 metres and made 11 tackles. But he also kind of blew a 3-on-1. That was pretty much a dead cert try if he had managed to offload before he was tackled from behind.
Yeah, but that's, eyes in the back of your head.
Yeah.
And
you also have to remember, for a lot of these guys, a lot of these guys, it's their first or second game of the season for Leinster. There's a lot of guys coming back in from another camp with another system, and then they have to come back in and get hit the ground running really quickly this year, because there isn't a long run up to Europe. So I tend to be forgiving, more forgiving than because the work rate is there.
More forgiving than Frano.
More forgiving.
He's already had his one right article of the year.
Yeah. Has he? The work rate is there. I mean, it'd be different if the effort wasn't going in. But the effort, you can see the effort all over the pitch. Even guys who aren't playing well. I mean, Luke McGrath's not playing all that well. But you can see he's putting in the effort. His work without the ball is superb. There's a certain amount done, a lot more to do.
I'd say he looked distracted now. There was a couple of, I think the ball came to him initially from a kickoff. He knocked it on.
Yeah.
Then there was a couple of times his pass was a bit slow. The ball's coming out the back of a ruck, and it's like he's not conscious of that it's around or that it's coming out. It's always
been his Achilles heel. In fairness,
concentration.
Well, no, not concentration. It was pass, I suppose, but it always Cooney's another man for it, hanging around the back of a ruck, looking around, and it always destroys me when I see forwards there, giving their life and limb to get a ball at the back of a ruck, and the scrum half's just not engaged in taking it out quick enough. You gotta play. These guys are getting broken up in here trying to give you the ball. Take the bloody thing when they're giving it to you,
But like to say, Leon were poor though, weren't they? I mean, okay, I
think they're overhyped, Jason. I don't think they're top of the top 14. But A, it was during the World Cup. Some teams lost a lot of players they didn't, and B, I just feel they're a little bit overhyped in terms of, obviously they are top of the top 14. So they're not. I'm not saying they're rubbish.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they're slightly. We're slightly more for example, when this group was drawn, we were all looking at Munster's group going, shit, that's an awful group, and our group, oh well, that's a piece of piss. Whereas now, Northampton are doing really well in England, Treviso have been improving for years, and Leon are top of the top 14. So now, and Saracens with their issues is now, and the Ospreys being total dirt.
Yeah.
Our Munster's group is starting to look easier. and ours is starting to look harder. However, I do think that the truth is in between somewhere in both groups. That Munster's is not as easy as it's looking now.
I think Lyon went out to win a top 14 game.
And
They weren't playing a top 14
they were
match.
playing.
They
Ireland
played
Cup
that
day.
I
way.
just wonder how committed they are to the whole European concept, because
That was their first point in Europe.
first point in 8 games in Europe.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, it's a question you can always ask about French teams, At the end of the day, all you can do is beat them.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
But all you can do is try to beat them. The only team you could ever really say is committed to the European concept is Toulouse. That's
Toulon as well.
Toulon. But only when they're up. I mean, you look at Toulon now; they don't look all that interested. They're up when they're up. But Toulouse are always, even if they're crap, they try.
Yeah. Well, we get to the other teams in a few minutes. There was some nice moments, I thought. It was like Van der Fleer was very, very lively around
Yeah, he
the
was
pitch.
superb, yeah.
Sexton's coming
Always.
back into a bit of form. Ringrose, I thought was good. Max Deegan, I thought played quite well. He took his try
Yeah,
well,
for
especially
sure.
considering it was his first start. I mean,
Yeah.
at that level.
And I think you said earlier, Jason. Oh, that was a beauty from Josh Van der Fleer.
There's been criticism
And
that
to
he
get it
shifted
away.
the ball on too fast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I have no opinion on the matter. But you look at the work rate of the guys. I mean, he wins the thing, then passes it on, then hits the ruck. James Ryan has carried it on, right? And then we carry on here, and you look at the next carrier up is. There we go.
Josh again.
Yeah, and then you look who the next carrier up is.
Yeah.
The work
Yeah.
rate these guys are putting in.
To be young again. To
Ah,
be
to
in
be
your
young.
20s, Dave.
Yeah. But I mean, that's 2 or 3 involvements for each of them.
Yeah. No, very impressive performance by our back row, I thought.
They're both involved again on that one.
And finally,
Yeah.
Badoum. Mr.
'Cause-
Deegan gets in.
One of the big stars, actually, of French rugby over the last 5-6 years has been Carl Ferns.
Yeah.
He's been a big star in the top 14. He with Johnny flattened him that
Yeah.
time. Really flattened him.
And then he got flattened subsequently.
And then he got
didn't
flattened subsequently, but we got the penalty for our flattening.
Yeah.
But
He was a Bath player in his day. I think
was, yeah.
that was a beautiful.
I think his style of, because you look at him there, he's a back row and he's dying trying to get back.
Yeah, but he's a big lumbering
Yeah,
back row.
yeah.
In fairness to him,
His style
he's
of
all
play,
about the power.
his style of play is not.
Suits
It's suited to top 14 rugby.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't exactly get a lot of jouet out of him.
No.
So
Well, you would if you like your jouet slow and
yeah,
bumpers.
yeah. If you like your jouet, gomal,
Yeah, no, he's a good player.
He's a good player,
But he's a
yeah.
very specific type of
Yeah,
player. Like
yeah.
he's a big beast of a number 6 who, just what you need in the top 14.
Yeah, he does one thing, and that's what I mean. I mean, Leon
Or
are
number
quick.
8, he was playing 8, wasn't he? Yeah.
Leon are equipped and tried to win a top 14 game, and they weren't playing one.
Yeah.
It is different in Europe.
It's funny how things have kind of changed in the last few years, isn't it? When we, like, not that long ago, maybe just even under the Matt O'Connor regime, that we can go to France and we're kind
Didn't
of
say that.
taking it for granted. Well, we should have got a bonus point in that match, or like even sort of there was a fly in the ointment. We let them in for a losing bonus point. Like, it's still an achievement to go into their backyard, beat them up, take the points, and get out.
I don't think getting a losing bonus point at home is going to make a bit of a difference to Lyon's camp. Like, they're on 1 point, we're on 9. Northampton are on 9.
Yeah.
Well, Leon are effectively out of it. They'll be playing the Espoirs for the rest of the season.
Even if either Northampton hockey us in both games or we hockey Northampton in both games, Lyon aren't getting a second place in this group under any
Not a chance,
circumstances. So they're playing for pride against Treviso. In fact, they're back to back against Treviso, aren't they? So there you go.
Yeah.
We'll see how much interest they take in that one. Because Treviso will always take an interest.
Treviso were. I hesitate to say robbed.
Yeah.
Because they weren't robbed. I mean, it was a penalty and whatever, but it was in the 82nd minute.
But there was a forward pass,
There was a forward pass that maybe
1 minute or less probably
No, I agree
before
with you.
that.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
But
What
you
did
know,
you say, Dave? British ref gives the British team.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, British ref gives British team advantage.
Well, I just want to go back to that because, like, Mike Adamson was the ref, and he's a Scottish ref. Doesn't matter where he's from, but
Obviously, it does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But it's just some referees have absolutely no appreciation for
Empathy
for the game.
Yeah.
Like he shouldn't. Referees should not dictate how a game is decided.
Whatever about a ref not having empathy, having no empathy for the game, he has no appreciation. Like you were saying, no appreciation of the game. He has no appreciation of the laws, let alone anything else. The guy. Have you ever noticed? You know that Tory MP Matt Hancock, the really fucking useless one. Have you ever
Sorry,
seen
which one?
Yeah, sorry, I had to learn that. But have you ever seen Matt Hancock and what's his name, Adamson in a room at the same time? I'm
Just saying, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I agree.
Which of them is Clark Kent and which of them is Superman?
neither of them are Clark. Neither of them are Superman. Anyway. But
It's Clark Man and Super Kent.
Kent, yeah. But I mean, but it shows the level that Treviso have got to now.
Yeah,
Like, you know, where they can take on a team that's the top of the Gallagher Premiership and feel, rightly or wrongly, but rightly mostly, pissed
Hard
off
done by, yeah.
that they didn't get anything out of the
Yeah,
game. Or
and
didn't get
They
more out of the
were
game.
22-8. And they were, you know, at one stage they
they were
were.
25-15 going in at half time after
Yeah.
just conceded a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they had a yellow card against them.
Yeah.
There's a penalty try under the sticks, and one of their lads got a yellow for it.
Speaking of yellows, I thought we managed our yellow very well. We
Very
nearly scored a try.
Do you know how long the ball was in play during those 10 minutes of his yellow card?
Go on.
2.5 minutes. Isn't that incredible?
Tasty.
That's game management for you.
Yeah. But like and like for even Treviso, they got back into the game. You know what I mean? They had gone down. They kind of whatever happened to them. Northampton put the pressure on, just for the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the second half. They got back into lead, and Treviso came back. We're leading 32-30. Like you would never have thought of that 5 years ago.
No.
When Treviso used to qualify
The easy
the
beat.
easy peasy way. Now that they have to get in because they're a proper qualifier, like it's actually a good thing for them. It's forced them to up their game.
Mm-hmm.
And you know they came within a couple of points, 3 points of the leaders in England is a pretty good result.
Oh, it is.
Even though, you know, I would have said that they should have won that game, but they
Would have been
didn't.
better for us.
Well, it would have been better, of course it would, yeah. But like, it's still a marked improvement on where Treviso were
certainly
a
is,
couple
yeah,
of
yeah,
seasons
yeah.
ago.
Unbelievably so.
Yeah.
That's mostly Mr. Crowley, you have to say. I think we
Yeah.
gave him the plaudits last
Yeah,
week.
he deserves them again this week.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Just going through some of the other games. Ulster had a good result against Claremont. Again, a team that
Yeah.
sort of let Claremont back in with a losing bonus point.
Yeah, but, you know, it's a different situation, I suppose. Claremont are away from home, so a losing bonus point away from home in Europe is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
The losing bonus point at home is, you know, losing a home game is you're going nowhere in Europe.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get out of your pool unless you've got, you know, a guaranteed 10-pointer in the pool, and then sure, everybody has a guaranteed 10-pointer in the pool and they're all going to do it. But yeah, I thought Ulster looked very good. They looked really hard and committed. I mean, they just don't have the class of Claremont
They
in
don't
a
have the
million
depth.
years. They don't have the bench of Claremont. They don't have lots of things that Claremont. Money, I suppose, is another one. But
Glory.
they gave them a really good game, and again they didn't like. Claremont showed the flair. I mean, I didn't see the whole game, but Claremont showed a fair bit of flair when they were let, but they were still came up short against a doughty Ulster team. You know.
John Cooney was very good.
Mm-hmm.
He butchered a try though.
He did. It was usual. It was mixed bag from him. Like you say, I mean, do you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of Simon Mason.
Amazing.
He's like Simon Mason was, you know, a pretty good, decent quality fullback.
Was
You
it
know,
a bit to say he played full back, didn't he?
well,
But he
wasn't
took the
world
kicks.
class or anything, but he was good. Like he was good.
Yeah.
But when the ball was on that tee,
Yeah.
he was world class. He was as good as Grant Fox or any of the rest of them. And John Cooney's a bit like that as a scrum half. He's pretty good. I mean, he's not.
Ah, come on.
He's not.
That left foot, right foot thing that he did to score that try was a thing of beauty.
You know, then he should get a game with Cliftonville. He's not Conor Murray, but he's not Christian Savranuto either. He's in between. Like he's a good who could play international rugby, but when the ball's on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and he's kicking the ball. Wow, he's just unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a great boot. And I saw a very good line the other day. John Cooney should be brought to Leinster for the good of Irish rugby. That was funny. It was obviously tongue-in-cheek remark, commenting on Mr. Carberry moving south. But yeah, I thought it was
There's plenty of other players I'd rather have than John Cooney, to be perfectly honest.
I don't know. I think he's a great player.
It has left the door open for Claremont. They still are very much in with a shout there.
Of course.
They're second place.
Yeah.
1-1 lost one.
Bath and Quins are the other two in that group, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Bath have already lost at home to Ulster
Yeah, Quinn's play
And away
Ulster
to-
in the back-to-backs.
Yeah.
and away to Quinn. So yeah, Ulster have a huge chance now. Wrap up those backs-to-backs, a pair of 3-0s will do that for them,
Was it Quinn's 2 years ago where Ulster had a great win in the snow? Was it 2 or 3 years ago?
Maybe
Maybe
doesn't
in
ring a bell.
January.
Doesn't ring a bell.
It was really bad weather and a lot of games were getting called off, but that game was on.
Right.
And Ulster had a really, really great game. I can't remember if it was Quinn. I think it was Quinn maybe 3 years ago. Anyway, that's apropos of not very much really. But yeah, they're a really good shot. I mean, you look at Quins and they're not that great.
No.
You know,
And
they really
obviously,
aren't.
Bath with all their money are not that great if they can't win at home to Ulster.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
The big thing for Ulster, of course, is that Addison has been cited.
Yeah, has he?
Yeah, for that tackle, which was very brave, but may have been foolish. It'll have to wait and see.
One team that were very foolish was La Rochelle. They had, well, I've never seen. I think actually I heard O'Gara on the radio tonight. He was saying I think there was 17 penalties conceded.
Yeah.
They had a red card, 2 yellows, was it?
Yeah,
Your man's in trouble now if he's like that's could be a
contact
6
with the
monther.
IRI area is a long,
Yeah.
is a long ban.
Remember Shane Jennings?
Yeah,
Remember Alan Quinlan? He missed the
Yeah.
lines,
Yeah.
it's a long ban. It must drive O'Gara mad. It really must, because he's like played with some of the most disciplined teams in the history of rugby.
Yeah.
And then to be have that in front of him.
I wonder, has he got the dessert issues as well?
Oh, for God's sake. But it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all if there were, because there is. I mean, it is a different rugby culture, and that's one of the great things about the European Cup is you get to take on teams who inhabit these different rugby cultures, and you get to battle them out and see who's best. But I guarantee you, theirs isn't.
Yeah.
It's
It's funny, like there's quite a few coaches that say come from we call it an Anglo-Saxon
An Anglophone.
background or culture, and they go over there, and some of them can just take it on the chin and deal with it, and others are just leave running, pulling their hair out. Like, do you remember, like Cheika came to Leinster, totally transformed our club, turned it
Went to
upside
Stade.
down, whipped it into shape, went over to Stade Francais, couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I was sure he left utterly frustrated. I went on to New South Wales. They won Super 12 or whatever it was at the time.
15.
15. And then went on to Australia, got them to a World Cup final. So like 3 teams that he's been involved in, he did wonders with. But the one team, the French team, he couldn't. Likewise, okay, Paul O'Connell doesn't have the coaching pedigree yet, but he's obviously got the rugby background. And he left Stade Francais pulling his hair out. Or, say even Banjo down in
Birch.
in Grenoble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that, he's no hair to pull out, but I'm sure he was very
He was
frustrated.
Paul O'Connell. Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, there are I mean, the dessert trolley thing is the famous one with Jackman, and I mean, it's a fair point if you think about it. You're supposed to be a professional athlete. What are you doing? Stuff in your face with cakes, etc. But
Leave Simon Zebo alone.
I'd say, like you were saying, there's a lot of Anglophone coaches who come from very like South African, Irish, Australian, New Zealand rugby, and they go in there, and there's guys who will either live or die on the altar of making the changes, or there's guys who will kind of get really head up and then look at the paycheck and just file it and forget it.
Yeah.
And start the next day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say there's probably 50-50
Yeah.
that can do that,
I don't think Rog fits into the latter character.
Well,
category.
he's had 6 years of meticulously building a career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's made reasonably large sacrifice. He could have walked away and been doing the punditry on TV stations easily.
He could have taken that job at Munster any time it was up. Like before Razzie came in, before Van Grant came in, it was always going to be Rodgers' job if he wanted it.
Rodgers' gig to lose.
Yeah. So he could have taken the easy way out and taken that job, but he didn't. He wanted to build a CV or build his experience and build his skills or whatever. I don't have no doubt he will end up at Munster.
I'm moving his family all around the world.
Yeah.
He could have done that, stayed, taken the easy option, joined Munster, or he could have just gone in and wrote.
Could have just sat under Joe Schmidt for 4 or 5 years, but he did the hard.
Or he could have done like what Alan Quinlan has done, or umpteen other players do a bit of media work and do personal appearances with companies or whatever, Yeah. But he didn't. He decided to go around the world.
Yeah.
Move to France, learn a new language, move down the other side of the world and to New Zealand again for a couple of years. Bring his young family, and he's got like 5 kids or something. So it's a big gaggle to bring down.
Yeah.
The only problem is he has no problems with visas getting into any countries because anytime he goes somewhere, he has a kid there.
Of course,
upside of it, I suppose.
But I mean, in fairness to Rog, learning language is a second nature to him. He learned English, which is hard enough for somebody from Cork. No, I've immense.
You're on fire.
No, I've a huge admiration for the way he's building his coaching CV.
Yeah.
He's gone about it the right way. The only thing is, at some point, the immovable rock of Rodgers' professionalism is going to meet the intransigence of French rugby culture, and one of them will break.
But it's 130 years of French rugby culture.
Yeah, one of them will break. Some clubs can do it. Toulon can do it, but that's by getting rid of all the French guys.
Well, there you go. And even Racing, you've got owners that come in, that buy it, that say, well, I want success. And if you're not prepared to give me success playing the way the coaches want you to do it, then good luck. See it. Yeah. Whereas if other clubs have an attitude of, well, this is France,
Dessert.
But like, even who was it? Chabal. Do you remember, like in the World Cup 12 years ago, he wouldn't even answer a question in England. In English, he said, "No, we're in France now. You speak French."
If Bougelel owned Clermont, they'd have about 10 European Cups.
Probably, yeah.
Because he just wouldn't stand for it.
Yeah, he's a nut job. Fair play to him.
Yeah. Well, just quickly, the other team in La Rochelle's group is Exeter and Glasgow. Exeter still flying great form there. 2 wins from 2 games, maximum points.
Yeah, it's like they're the only ones with maximum points, aren't they?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
In the top competition anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're gonna have a good year now in Europe.
They seem to have got the European heads on, which they haven't had in the past.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but they're. They have a bit of an advantage now in the league when the only other team that can challenge them is down the bottom scrabbling for relegation. Yeah, I'm sure they'd probably climb out of that, knowing them. But they might have to. The downside for the rest of us teams is they might have to win the European Cup to get into Europe next year. They might end up outside the top 6 in the Premiership, no matter what they do.
Sarries,
yeah.
I had a look at their team sheet, and like. A lot of them you wouldn't have recognised. I certainly didn't recognise the names on their starting 15. There was, just in comparison to say what started in the European Cup final, like they had Elliot Daly, Brad Barrett, Mako Vinapolo, Jamie George is on the bench, Will Skelton, George Cruz and Wigglesworth was on the bench as well. But like that was really it,
And what do you think tipped PRL the nod that there might be problems with the salary cap there?
But the point is that they did go out and they played their weakened team, and yet they put 44 points on and scored 5 tries in the process of beating
on a team whose coach has just resigned, who just got beaten for the first time away.
Ospreys are
Kings.
Quite frankly dreadful at the moment. But the other thing of that is this is part of the whole thing. Saracens have that second team.
Yeah.
This is why, and I see the Exeter CEO is looking into suing to get prize money or opportunity cost or whatever you want to call it. You're the kind of Jason, you know what these things are. The money that they could have earned from being Premiership champions that they didn't earn because they were Premiership runners up. So he's looking into that one. I don't think it's justiciable because the team that Saracens beat in the semi-final could make the same point and whatever. So I don't think they'll be able to do much about it. But it just shows that, and apparently PRL are going to call a mid-season audit on Saracens.
Are they?
Yeah,
Ooh.
in the next couple of days, because they're not sure that Saracens have actually
Complied.
The Saracens said, "Well, now we're under the salary cap now. We are."
I didn't see any players leaving though.
Yeah, we didn't see any
However.
players leaving, and you've just signed more, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. But I'd say, I mean, are they playing Munster in the back-to-back?
Yeah.
Yep.
That could be nasty.
Well,
Because they're such pricks. They could put out their best team against Munster just to fuck them up, and then put out the Espoirs for the rest of it.
well,
Who knows?
I think that this, like, if that, just fast forwarding on, I suppose, to the Munster Saracens game, it could be something that could be the end of Van Gran. If they lose both those games, and they've got Leinster the following week, got 3 defeats, they would be out of Europe if they lost both those matches against Saracens.
I think that's
That's a bit of a doomsday scenario there.
I concentrate on the fact that they lost at home.
They drew.
They drew at home, which I mean,
Well, if they lost both games to Saracens, then they would
Racing-
also have lost at home.
Racing looked great for a while, and then Finn Russell decided, all right, I've done enough, I'm going for scars after about 55 minutes, and then didn't do a thing for the rest of the match. And JJ Hanrahan was able to come in, and I thought he was brilliant in that last half
Should have
hour.
got the drop goal.
He should have got the drop goal, but in
Outside of
fairness,
that, he had a good
in
game.
fairness, apart from that, he was absolutely brilliant. But you can't give a team like Racing that kind of a start. You really, really can't.
And they did that in the semi-final a couple
Yeah,
of years
yeah,
ago as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
They gave them a big lead, and then they tried to hold them back, and it was too late.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is,
I mean,
it's not so.
we did the same to Racing in the final. We only took the lead in the 81st minute.
we never let them out the gate. Kind
No,
of thing.
true enough. That's true.
And the problem for Munster is that not so much the draw, it's the fact that they still have to go to Racing.
Yeah.
And Racing are one of the teams that take it seriously, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very, very difficult for them.
Well, it's all on the back-to-backs with...
It's all in the back-to-back.
with-
And I wouldn't put it past Saracens just to be pricks. I really wouldn't. I mean, they are that objectionable.
You never know. And the final pool was the Toulouse Connacht game. Connacht were doing well for 60 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're actually ahead of Toulouse in Toulouse at one stage, 17-15 or something, weren't they?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, they were.
and I mean, I thought Connacht were very, very good, and they were it. But Toulouse just had, I mean, trundle on come the subs, and they just had a quality of player that the Connacht just didn't have.
Who were in a crisis anyway.
And yeah, exactly.
And double the budget.
And yeah. But I mean, in terms of rugby stuff, Connacht are, as you say, in an injury crisis, and Toulouse have obviously a huge squad, and were able to bring those guys in, and it was unfortunate for Connacht. It was a brave effort. It's not. I mean, it's really, really hard to go over to Toulouse and win. It's really.
Well, we lost last year.
No shit.
Yeah, we lost last year. We've only won one. We've only won once, and that was in that quarter final. It's a hard place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now they still have a great opportunity because,
We should have beaten them more when they were shit.
yeah, but like they play Gloucester in rounds 3 and 4, so they have a very good opportunity
Yeah.
still to maybe get the second place in the
Connacht.
Connacht.
Oh, certainly, yeah. I think they're certainly a better team than Gloucester.
Well, Gloucester have nothing
We'll
to
see.
play for now. They lost 2
I
games.
think they're certainly a better team than Gloucester, especially. I mean, English teams will put up an effort because there's an honesty of
yeah, true
effort
enough.
there.
Yeah.
But I think if they get a few bodies out of the infirmary, Connacht are just a bit too good for Gloucester.
You'd have to say, though, that that pool, and is it Exeter's pool? That there's only one team coming out of, maybe it's not Exeter. But I was looking through it, and there's 2 pools, and you think Toulouse are going to be the only one out of that one. And there's another pool. I'll check it out while we're talking,
Yes.
but there is another pool that
I know what you mean. Yeah.
that
yeah.
it looks like
There's only going to be one team.
there's only
coming
going to
out
be
of it,
one team coming out of.
I mean, it's again, it was a good weekend's rugby.
Was, yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyable weekend's rugby. I mean, the European rugby it still is the best competition in club competition. I think it's better than Super Rugby, certainly in terms of a spectacle. So you get two teams like Leinster and Lyon, say, 2 teams with totally different concepts and cultures coming against one another. You don't really get that in Super Rugby. Or you get 2 teams, you get Racing and Munster. You don't get a game like that in Super
And
Rugby.
the distances between the stadium, between the clubs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is
Precludes travelling fans.
yeah, and so like I don't know many Leinster. There looked a big mob of Leinster over there.
Yeah, there was.
Well,
Yeah,
there's plenty enough of them.
3,000 or 4,000, I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
there was a shitload. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's great, and that brings an atmosphere and
Yeah.
colour to every. And we see it when teams come to Dublin. It's great to see.
Yeah.
Lyon's a big town. Lyon is the second biggest town in France, and it's kind of
City, yeah, city.
sorry. Well, Dublin town, London town, whatever. It is a city.
Langford Town.
Did you know?
Langford
that,
Town.
here's a trivia point for you. London is the smallest city in the UK.
City of London.
Yes.
Oh right, okay, very good. Well, anyway, the only point I was making is that Lyon is roughly comparable to Dublin in terms of population size, both in the city area and in the surrounding.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I think that's an important point
So
as well.
what I'm saying is that your fans kind of disappear in it. It's not like
Yeah.
they're all in the same street or
Isn't it a shame that that's one thing I've noticed about French rugby when I was growing up or when we were all growing up, and like our only exposure to, I don't even know what it was called, the top 14 back in the 80s, was it?
Yeah.
But the only exposure we had to those was seeing the match programs at the internationals and seeing, where Lagisquet was from.
I get the odd highlight rugby special.
Maybe, but generally all these teams down in the south of France, and they were small little not villages, but they were smaller towns.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Poes and Biarritzes and
Bagels and
all these,
Yeah.
and now it's just they're all moving to big conurbations. As you say, it's the Leons that can support. That has 1 million people living in it. That
yeah,
it's
it's support of professional sport.
yeah. And
Because there certainly is that. Although you still get things like Montpellier. Montpellier is a relatively small town, or it's a relatively small city, whichever it is.
It is.
So-
I think it is a city. Yeah.
So you still have outliers like that. But sorry, just to go back to what you were saying, John. The thing is, the thing that Super Rugby doesn't have is the weekend. Like, obviously, because fans don't travel, or can't travel really. It's not practical. But there's also the idea of fans mixing and fan villages like you'd see in any French town or in most English towns as well. When there's a European Cup match on, you don't get that spirit of camaraderie and bonhomie between fans.
Mhm.
And I think that's what sets the European Cup above Super Rugby. It's a much more involved tournament. The players, the fans, everyone's involved in it.
Mm-hmm. I just had a look at the polls there, and it is Exeter's group that I don't think anyone else is coming out of. Glasgow, Sale, and whoever else.
Well, I
it is.
watched because it was Sale who were playing.
La Rochelle.
La
isn't it?
Rochelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nobody else is coming out of that, I don't think. And Toulouse, Connacht are probably the next best team in that group, maybe.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can see them not coming out as well. So there. If you want an early prediction, now these things swing around, and the teams that look like they're on fire in the first two rounds,
Yeah.
by the time you get to round 5, can be under the.
Yeah, because by the time Christmas is over, and you've got all the interpros, or in England you've got a lot of
Derbies.
derbies. France, you've got desserts, lots of cake and Yule log. And
Running theme of
And
the
then
night. French
you
dessert.
come back in January, and everything can have changed.
They have some lovely desserts though in
Oh,
France.
they do.
I have to
They're
say.
really, really good at it. In fairness, they really are. They're better at it than they are at rugby these days. But everything can have changed because we could go down to Munster, so two fellas could run into one another and not both ourselves and Munster are disadvantaged by having a player injured, or somebody could get injured at Carton House, or you never know. Anything can change,
Of course.
and it usually does.
Yeah, well, at this early stage, it's silly to predict, but that's my prediction. Toulouse and Exeter being the only people out of their groups. You heard it here first.
Okay. So anyway, moving our attention to next weekend, we play Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Glasgow beat us last season.
They did.
I was looking at, we mentioned it briefly last week.
Played them twice this year, though.
We do. We actually played them twice last season as well. We played them in the regular
Well,
season that they beat us, and then obviously the
Well,
final.
two regular
Yeah.
season games against them.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, yeah.
We had a dreadful run in last season. We were beaten by both Scottish teams,
Mhm.
drew with Treviso, and beaten by Ulster in our final games.
That's because we had a lot of
For
points.
sure, yeah, for sure. But it's
Still
something
won the
that
bloody title.
we did. But we qualified as the second ranked Irish team rather than the first one. We definitely were the number one ranked Irish team.
Yeah.
But we didn't. Our league position didn't show that.
Glasgow's
Sure.
actually been a tricky venue for us over the years.
Oh yeah.
Certainly,
In fact, all of the venues in Glasgow have been tricky.
the Glasgow, the city, has been a tricky city for us outside of outside of knockout rugby or European rugby.
outside of Celtic Park. yeah.
Outside of Celtic Park, we should play all our games at Celtic Park. But outside of European Cup and knockout rugby, it's been a tricky place. I mean, we don't generally pick up a lot of points over there.
Oh, I
Especially in
agree.
the
Yeah.
league.
Especially, that's what I mean. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we don't.
Well, like
pick
I
up a lot
remember
of
we
points.
played in a European Cup match on one weekend, and I think the following Friday we played them in the league.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
vastly different team, but they beat us on the Friday, but we beat them very handily in the European game.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember the one you mean.
And it's hard to see us going full bore either, because we've like it's a kind of a down week, if you like, in the middle of a 4 European games. Then you've 3 interpros, and
Yeah.
then you're back to Europe.
Yeah.
So it's a really tough run of games. Yes, the internationals are going to get a rest over Christmas, probably in the Munster game, or maybe in fact over maybe Munster and Connacht.
Half and half job.
Whatever, or we'll rotate all 3 of them around. We'll rotate between all 3 of our interpros, perhaps, keeping their best teams for the 2 home games. So we're not gonna be playing Johnny Sexton, Tyke Furlong, Keane Healy. We might be playing some of them in Glasgow, but we won't be playing.
No.
All
There'll
of
be
the
guys-
James Ryan might need a break. He's been playing 80s.
Yeah, there'll be guys that the coaches who mightn't have played a whole lot of rugby that the coaches want to take a look at and maybe run some minutes into them before the European games. But there'll be guys they might come on the bench and get 10 or 15 minutes at the end. Or there'll be guys that from the, if you like, the non-European squad that the coaches want to get some game time into. So there's lots of different requirements being
Scenarios.
juggled.
Yeah.
So I mean,
It'll be a blend of a
there'll be a
team.
blend. Yeah, it won't be.
Won't be
We're not going to play any of the internationals.
It's not going to
Or
be
it
the
won't
Dragons with Cheka and,
Yeah.
and Bernard Jackman
It
and
won't, be,
Mallow
it won't be a
Kelly.
bunch of academy lads and James Tracy,
Yeah.
nor will it be Full Metal Jacket. It'll be a blend because of all those different requirements that the coaches have.
So I don't know. Predicting the team might be
And I'd
a bit
say,
of a.
but
a lost-
Glasgow won't be that far off a similar situation themselves. They've got the back-to-backs coming up,
Yeah.
and they've got the 1872 Cup over Christmas, and obviously they've got however many minutes the Scottish coaching team is allowing them. So it won't be a wildly different situation from Glasgow.
Oh, they'll be playing a lot more of
They'll
their.
probably have more of them, but they have
They're
fewer
at home.
players.
Well, they actually got pretty good depth.
They're decent. They're better depth than Welsh teams.
Absolutely, way better. Better depth than Edinburgh too. Although Edinburgh have come on.
Edinburgh have come on now, I have to say.
But Glasgow seem to have a knack of signing guys. They had. I know they didn't feature very much, but they had some good Kiwis, good Fijians, good. They've had good kind of foreign players that have come in as second stringers over the last 5 years. That you might not see them play too often, but they're good guys to have on in reserve
they've
when your
always-
internationals are away.
I suppose the familial and national ties, but they've always had good scouting in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
Glasgow always better than Edinburgh, for example.
Yeah.
They've always brought up-
There's quite a
Well, they
strong
now have
link
Dave
with
Rennie.
Scotland to New Zealand, isn't there?
oh huge.
Like, yeah.
The place names Invercargill and
Yeah.
Dunedin.
Dunedin.
Dunedin is the Scots Gaelic for Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm. There's loads of place names, especially in the South Island. Like South Island being mountainous and cold, it's ideal place for the old Jeffrey Mac Scotsman.
Yeah.
But having said that, Dave Rennie, bit of a lame duck scenario creeping in there.
There is an
Dave.
element of that now, yeah, of course, because of his
he's-
elevation to the papacy.
Now that he's taken
the
over,
moderator of the Church of Scotland, I should say.
now that he's taken over from Mickey Cheka down in Australia, in one hand you'd be saying, oh well, the lads will want to give him a good send off and they're all going to play hard for him and yada yada yada. But the more practical side of it is he's not going to be deciding any of their contracts for next season. He's not going to be involved. They might be playing a different style of rugby. They don't know who their coach is yet, probably. But
They do, don't they?
do they?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it is. It's the
It's
Welsh forwards coach,
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
coach in Scotland now. What's his name? Dave.
Cal.
Dave. Oh, I can't think of his name. It's on the tip of my tongue. He was the Cardiff head
He
coach.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is.
Danny Wilson,
Danny Wilson.
That's the one.
Mary's Prayer.
Very, very good, Dave. Very good. Or there's a Frank Sinatra movie of the same.
There is, yes, that's where the band got
Where the
their
band got their name from, yeah. Woohoo. Okay.
Welcome
Meanwhile,
to,
back at the
welcome
rugby.
to Culture Fest.
Meanwhile, back at the rugby. What's next, Jason?
Just go through some of the other fixtures. Munster take on Edinburgh
They do.
in Munster.
In Irish Independent Park.
I think so. I'm not sure now where that match
I think
is.
it is.
Is it?
Okay.
So I think like Munster have won.
You sell out anyway.
Munster have won 5 of their 6 games so far this season. So like they've.
No reason to think that won't continue.
Yeah.
Like the Munster have a bit. They've got an out half crisis. They've got Matheson leaving. Is he actually leaving
He's
this week?
gone now,
He's
yeah.
gone. Yeah. Well, there you go.
I believe it when I see him in the jersey.
You get his
So-
3-year extension
Yeah.
and his sick note
I
contract.
just see him coming through security. Excuse me, Mr. Matheson, could you step aside? We need to have a word with you.
Well, anyway, yeah, missing him, a bit of an out half crisis. They're probably still lacking a decent second row.
What are
They're
they down to? 3-4 out halves now?
only something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't they ship one off to Ulster
They did, yeah.
and one off to Treviso
He
and
came on the other day, actually. Played
One off to Connacht.
Yeah,
Your
one
man
off
Fitzgerald was an out half.
Yeah, there's two of them,
He's a
Jason.
winger.
There's two of them.
Yes, 2 brothers.
There's 2 brothers.
Yeah.
Both played Irish under 20. One's an out half and one's a wing.
All right, sorry. So my point is that Munster will probably go like they have some good advantages. They've got 2 new unit coaches who should be top notch. They've got
It should be exciting the players.
exactly,
Yeah.
and then you can see that Larkham's starting to have his hands on some of their plays, and they're starting to expand. So it's a period of transition for them.
Also, Roundtree is just going to get, like, he was obviously away with Georgia for
Yeah,
most of.
Yeah, he's only on the place.
He's only in, I don't know how long, maybe a couple of weeks. You know,
So-
probably similar to Robin McBride with us. So
yeah. So that's the good news. The bad news is they've got a bit of an out half crisis. They're lacking a decent second row, and there's a few little issues there that they'll need to address, but it's not going to stop them doing well in the Pro 12 or the Pro 14, especially at home to Edinburgh. You'd have to think that's an ideal opportunity to assert their dominance. But my point, in my very long-winded way I'm getting around to it, is that they're not really at the top table in Europe yet. They're not.
No.
They'll be doing well to get out of their group in Europe. They might do it
Second row is the most surprising.
because they produce so many over the years.
Yeah, and you see that. I mean, Billy Holland is what 80.
Yeah,
Just a great player.
77.
A great
anyway.
player, and I'd say
A late bloomer too.
yeah, a fantastic tight head lock, right? But beyond that, I mean, Ty Byrne, is he really a lock? Or is he? Are you robbing Peter to pay Paul by playing him as a lock instead of playing him in the back row? Jean Klein is provocatively crap. And
Well, he's the tight head lock. In fairness,
yeah, I know,
out of the 3 of them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Um,
They seem to be missing a player. There seems to be a player, like literally. You look at that and you think, hold on, there should be somebody there, and then
there's one on the way.
there's one on the way. But you look at it, you think, oh, okay, so they've got Burley, and they go, oh no, there's one missing. Who is it? I can't remember.
RJ Simon.
But then you remember he's not actually there. It's a weird one. Like it's a real hole in their squad that you, until you look at it, you don't realise. But then when you see it, you can't stop seeing it.
Yeah. Well, what about the other Dale Ende shaped hole in their squad? They're getting a little bit. They've always had a problem with centres, like
Yeah.
we used to have a problem with scrum halves or hookers or whatever.
In fairness, they're trying to expand their game, so they're going for a South African instead of a New Zealander. They've had more success with South African. I mean, Trevor Halstead was the man for them. I mean, he was very underrated, but a lot of what particularly in 2006, a lot of what won them the European Cup was.
Was he gone in 2008?
He was. I don't
think
know.
he might have been.
No, I think he was still around, but he wasn't first choice. They had Topoki and Maffey then, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But a lot of what won them the European Cup in 2006 was based around him, because he was big, powerful, quick.
They also had the international 1 to 8.
They also had, but outside that they had
1 to 10.
outside that they had a Springbok,
Yeah.
who was almost like a lot of Springbok centres, a back row masquerading as a centre kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of what they did was based around. I mean, people slag them off, and I've been
the head of the queue.
I've been at the head of the queue, particularly like Dowling. But a lot of what Munster did was based around Dowling. If they had to go wide and he had to come back inside, he didn't lose the ball.
No.
He never got turned over ever, and he was able to set up mauls and stuff like that because
You're an advocate of Joe Schmidt.
But I mean that's the thing about Dowling. Like I mean we like to slag him off and stuff like that, but he was fundamental to the Munster game plan. So was Trevor Halstead. So they've gone back to a big South African centre. When they went for a while, they tried to sign kind of hot steppers, and I don't think that really worked out for them.
No.
Well, it certainly didn't. I mean, some of them were dreadful.
Well, they've got Stephen Larkham now. They've got plenty of.
But they kind of got loads of fellas that were Casey Lalalu, and they had even your man
Francis Saili.
Yeah, and then they had the former Springbok captain.
Oh, Harvey Norman.
Harvey Norman.
Great deal. No interest.
Yeah. So like and then like Tupoki and who's the other guy? Maffey. Like they kind of built their team around. Not built their team.
They had a very good partnership.
They had a great partnership, and they were there for more than just the 2-year contract and then move on. And like what they did subsequently.
I don't think Tupoki was there for more than 2 years.
Well, he got injured. If you remember, he got injured quite badly. That initially led people to think he was going to have to. He got injured in the game against the All Blacks to open up Thomond Park.
Right.
He got a bad injury then. He was out for pretty much the rest of that season and then retired shortly afterwards. So, I mean, he would have been around longer. Matthew was around. I think
he was around a good while.
He came in 2004, 2005.
He was there for a few seasons.
Yeah, he was there a long time.
But then they just seemed to have the 2-year guys that just did their 2 years.
Yeah, there was the Sam Tui Tupou, Saili.
Forgot about him.
Casey Laulala, and
et al.
Yeah. Jaco Taute.
Who's now in Leicester, isn't he?
He's now in Leicester. I mean, there was a case of insert random name here kind of thing. And it didn't really work out for them because they weren't able to build something.
And now they've got Chris Farrell.
It's like when we had
Ben
Teal.
Yeah.
If Ben Teal had stayed and he had 5 years here, you'd say, well, you can build your team.
Yeah.
Build a partnership with somebody around it, rather than just in for 2 years. I'm sure the players know this guy's just here for the money, and then once his contract's ended.
Ben was never too shy about saying it.
No, true enough.
I mean, in terms of being a professional, he was here to earn money.
He's gone to Japan
now. He's gone to Sunwolves now. Yeah. Funny enough, I thought Leinster's best centre partnership during that period was actually Tio and Noel Reid.
Yeah, they built
really,
a bit
really
of
well
telepathy there. Yeah, indeed. The bludgeon and the rapier.
Yeah. Well, Noel Reid had the pass to get Tio into a bit of space, and then he could use his power.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Irish team playing the weekend is Ulster against Scarlets. So Scarlets have actually been pretty good in the league this season. They're 5 from 6.
Yeah.
Ulster 4 from 6.
I still haven't got me head around the revised conferences. Ulster and Scarlets are in different conferences this year. Am I right?
You might be. I haven't heard around it either.
Ulster are in ours and Scarlets are moved over to Munster's. Is that right? Yeah. I think that's right. We've got the Ospreys now, which looks like a good deal at the moment. Ulster at home to the Scarlets, if I'm not mistaken. That should be a good
That'd be a good game
chance.
of rugby.
Good game of rugby to see how that goes. Good chance for Ulster to sling along another win, and because they're in different conferences, they don't care if they get bonus points or.
One thing that'll be interesting is I'd say that John Cooley will probably be rested for that match. Just in terms of like the spectacle for the viewer, which means that Shanahan will probably play. Shanahan only knows how to play one way, fast. So and that's how Scarlets play anyway. So it might be It might be a good watch.
Yeah. It's probably on a Friday night, seeing as it's in Ravenhill.
Yeah.
There's something to do with your Friday night, guys.
Connacht take on the Kings. Kings have their first victory in the league.
Well, hopefully they're not going to have their second.
I don't think they will be having their second. I think Connacht are on a
it's
different level.
It's a good result for Connacht to get back on the horse after disappointment over in Toulouse.
Yeah.
Treviso Cardiff, your old team, John.
Will it ever end? No. Will it ever end?
Tired of flogging a joke to death? I don't think so.
I don't mind.
Treviso could pick up an owl win there, so they could.
Yeah, Cardiff are poo still.
They really are.
Yeah, God love them.
They're super poo.
They've never really made it beyond the scuttery stage. God bless them.
They've never solidified.
They've never solidified.
There's always been a runniness to their consistency.
Okay, let's not pursue that metaphor
No.
any further.
Get
Take us,
drained away.
take us away from this,
Well,
Jason. Quick.
Dragons have been in the.
Oh, that's going to take us away from Pooh.
Well, they're actually.
Actually playing well with
They've,
Dean Ryan.
they've had
haven't
2
Yeah,
wins,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is themselves and Cardiff have both got 2 wins.
Yeah.
So they're kind of the vying for the second best team in Wales.
Dean Ryan got the poison chalice of Worcester a few years ago and ran screaming, I think, in 2016. And now he's got the poison chalice of probably European rugby nearly.
But
in
Dragons is owned by
the
Welsh
Dragons.
Rugby Union.
Yeah, I know that.
And it's a completely blame-free environment.
Mm.
No matter what you do there, you can't get into trouble because they're just...
Well, also, they're playing each other, or did they play each other last weekend? Sorry, Challenge Cup hasn't been on my radar.
No, Cardiff played Leicester.
No, I'm talking about
Oh, sorry.
Dragons. Like Dean Ryan's current club, Dean Ryan's ex-club. They're either playing the back-to-backs, or they played last week. I can't remember which. I think it might be the back-to-backs. So, that'll be interesting.
That's a whole level of nerdity that a rugby nerd does.
That you haven't risen
Only
to yet.
you can go
Or
down.
sunk to.
Even I haven't gone that far.
There you go. Well, I just think it's interesting that Dean Ryan is having these things teed up from. On paper, you'd think Worcester, not great and all as they are in the Premiership, would trounce the Dragons, but you just never know. Dean Ryan might just be angsty enough to get them over the line there, because he's done a better job than Bernard Jackman so far as I can see, which I suppose A isn't saying a lot, but B, the Dragons have got a little bit of spring in their step.
Well,
2 wins in
when
Europe.
they get their
and-
international back.
Well, they still have Beth Lynch. He's an
Yeah,
ex-international.
that's true.
Anyway,
And the final game is the Ospreys against the Cheetahs.
Cheetahs.
Well, Cheetahs have won 3 from 6, and they were all at home, so they've lost their 3
Cheetahs.
on the road.
are they away?
They're in the Ospreys.
Cheetahs.
I mean, that's a nice big pitch in good condition. They'll enjoy that.
And not only that, but their coach has just walked. So
And is there any announcement on who's going to take over from Alan Clark?
not that I've heard. I've been busy today, but I haven't heard any. Haven't been on Twitter to find out.
It's actually going to be a surprisingly difficult job to fill, I think. And what's surprising is when you consider the heritage of the Ospreys, such as it is, in terms of, I mean, they are by far the most successful, or certainly for a long time were the most successful and most regionalised of all the regions.
Yeah, it's
One true cliche.
Yeah.
It's a shame to see, because it's like you do need strong teams in the Pro 14
Oh, God, yeah.
to make it. When you go away and you start talking to natives from Northampton, and they'll start slagging off the league, and it's hard to kind of, when Saracens can put 44 points on Ospreys, it does make a bit of a mockery of it.
Mm.
Wales has, I mean, we've gone through this so many times.
Our viewer will be bored.
Wales just have to sort their shit out and they have to
They
decide what
haven't
their
turned off already.
Wales have to decide what their shit is, and then sort their shit out. Until they do that, we'll be having this conversation from now until Judgment Day, and I don't mean Judgment Day in
Good one. Good one.
but we'll be having it from now until.
It's only April.
We'll be having it from now until Ragnarok or Gutter Damarol.
Okay.
Dave, any questions first?
No.
This week? No questions.
Nobody gives a shit this week. Nobody's paid any attention to anything we've said or done this week. We have a viewer, but he hasn't decided to ask a question.
Okay,
That's all right.
Well, my boys, as ever, thanks a million for watching. And if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and a like. Thanks a million.